Hello and welcome back to Frogboy X1 Gaming. I'm Andrew, and tonight I think I want to do kind of more of a deep dive into Resident Evil Village. I want to talk about my experience and explain to you why this is now my new favorite Resident Evil game of all time. Hands down, this is my favorite. So, my playthrough lasted 7 hours, 15 minutes, 13 minutes. Not not the longest time I've ever spent in a Resident Evil, and not the shortest time. The Resident Evil 3 make was probably the shortest. I got through that one pretty quick. That one was pretty quick. But Resident Evil Village. Okay, this game is freaking. I love it. I love it. Like I have had time to, watch a couple of other YouTubers, rant and cry about their experience and I didn't understand this. And, I'm not going to name any of them just because I think it's, you know who they are. They're the ones that will, day one, tell you how wonderful a game is. And then the next day they have to find something to complain about, to knock that game, to get clickbait, to get views. You're not going to get that from me on a lot of games. If I come out and I tell you, hey man, this game is good, I liked it, I'm going to stand by that because I'm expecting you to take my word to put that on a video game. You're not going to hear me come back the very next day or a day after and complain about nitpick shit that doesn't even matter. Like, who cares what your experience, with the story was? Did you think the game was good or not? Yeah. Then tell people if you thought it was good. If you didn't like the story, do not come out and say that it was a great game and then a day later come out and kick it, because that shit's frustrating. It makes people question buying that game. And right now, guys, I've been a gamer for 35 years. 35 years. And I love gaming. And when I play a game and I love a game, I want to love that game. I don't want to sit and listen to people tell me that it was good and then a couple days later kick it for stupid stuff. Like Cyberpunk 2077, that game came out and it was rough on base consoles. I played that game all the way through on my Xbox Series X. I ran into a couple of bugs, yeah, but nothing breaking that game. And my overall experience just going through the campaign missions and maybe a little bit of side stuff, it was an amazing experience. That story was so good, and I feel like if you want to get the full bang of that story, you probably should just stick to the campaign and do that. Try to avoid the until they get it fixed and up to where they need it to be. Try to avoid all the side story stuff. That if that game would have been a linear experience, it would have been amazing. It would have been amazing if it would have been curated to keep you in certain areas and stuff. That game would have been amazing. But they let you run around in free roam in a free world, and you're gonna see stuff in that free world that just is immersion breaking. But if you stick to the campaign and the story and you get through all of that, then that's an amazing experience. And like I don't take that away. I rate that game, about in story content and story wise and doing the campaign. I'd give that game a solid 8, maybe a 9. If you stay away from the open world aspect of it, you won't see as much of that stuff that people are complaining about, because they're like the AI and stuff, for the pedestrians, for the NPCs, they're dumb and they walk in circles. Yeah, it's not a perfect game. It came out pretty broken. Everybody knows it was pretty broken. But I'm telling you, underneath all of that garbage, if you play it on a capable system, you will have a decent experience playing through the campaign. But enough about Cyberpunk 2077 and other people's little crying rants to get clickbaits or whatever. let's talk about Resident Evil 7 from my perspective and why I like this game. Okay, so you start this game, with your family or whatever. Okay, you're Ethan Winters, from Resident Evil 7. You reunite with Mia. You guys get married. You have a baby, baby Rose. It starts off with you and your family. You're basically, witness protection. Chris Redfield puts you in witness protection in Europe. And you're with your family. You're starting over. You're building a new life. Whatever. So you're sitting down to have dinner, and Chris Redfield and the squad come, and they murder Mia. And they don't explain anything of what's going on, but it turns out Mia was, it was being mimicked. It wasn't even her. She was being mimicked. They take you, Ethan Winters and Baby Rose, and they're trying to transport you guys to somewhere safe where they probably would have broke everything down, but needed to secure you in the situation, whatever. So that part makes sense, whatever. It doesn't make sense at the time because, it's part of the story, obviously. But along the way, the thing that was mimicking Mia comes back and like takes out the transport crew and takes Baby Rose and leaves you in the snow to die. Well, you wake up, you answer the phone's ringing, it wakes you up, and then you start your journey. Okay, so you end up walking through the night, like a little ways, and then you get to this the little town, not town, but little village or whatever. Everything's just torn apart. There's monsters. They are everywhere, but they're not everywhere. So it basically shoots you out into this, and it's frantic. There are freaking, like, you'll walk around a little bit, you get your gun, whatever, and then it gets frantic really fast. A lot of enemies and stuff, and the whole point of that is to kick you down, but right before you're gonna die, then they all just they take off. And then you run into the old lady, which was the old lady from the demo, which is cool. They're like, I like that frantic part, but I don't, like it was it was kind of like, whoa, like, and it had me thinking, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know, I hope the whole game's not like this, because like I want to be able to like dawdle and stuff. But then you talk to her, and then you get past that, you go into the house, whatever, you do all the demo stuff. If you played the demo, you already know what I'm talking about. That's just, and then when you get to Castle Dimitrescu, you the Resident Evil experience, kind of starts. You're going from room to room, you're looking for things, you're trying to figure out what's going on, you're reading documents, you are exploring, you are getting to different parts of this castle, and you're getting more knowledge, you're starting to understand what's going on. And then you first you get through all of that, and then you get to the castle. When you get in there, before you can even start exploring this castle, Heisenberg sees you, and you're trying to go up the elevator thing, and he takes you up to the room where you're now in the room with the four lords and the Mother Miranda, the main villain or whatever, which is basically like they explain, how she fits in the Resident Evil thing and everything. Like it makes sense in the end, and it's really cool to know that there was a side branch the whole time. Like it's cool. I like how it turned out, and it fit and it worked, and it just further expands the Resident Evil. Like I'm happy they did this. It's cool. I like how they give it another branch to possibly, be able to branch out more in the future and add more content, more to the story. So basically, Heisenberg drags you up to the room with all four of the other lords. You get the fish dude, you get Bienvenido, and you get Lady Dimitrescu. I don't really remember the fish guy's name, because I played it a couple days ago, and that section wasn't like super long, but I probably should have got my facts straight. But I mean, he is a memorable character, but not, to the point. Like him and Bienvenido's area are kind of like smaller, but they're good. They're the way they work these into the story is pretty good. And a lot of people have said, they add like so many different types of game in this. And I mean that is kind of true, but it but it kind of works out to where it because some of these sections. Okay, so some of these things, if you're not like a if you're new to Resident Evil, this game could probably take you a freaking while to figure out. Yeah, you could probably get stuck in this game for 20-25 hours easy, if you're new to this. But I've been playing Resident Evil since the very first one, and yeah, I mean, you start to figure things out, and after you played so many of them, like you just you kind of start, and I mean, you play like Silent Hill and stuff like that. You start to understand what to look for and how things work. And I mean, there's still stuff in Village that I have yet to complete, but I am going to go back and do that. So after you meet all four of these lords and hear them argue about who gets to try to do what they want with you, you're turned over to Heisenberg, and he basically has the Lycans chase you through the castle or through the under the catacombs of the castle. So basically, it's kind of like a linear experience that, I mean, like you're going to get out, whatever, and then you will try to go back into the castle and then go back to the same door that he brought you from, and then that's when you get in there and start doing start going through Lady Dimitrescu's little section of the game. Okay. So I thought for sure that Lady Dimitrescu was going to be like the main villain of the game, but it turns out she's just the first boss. And her section's really cool because you have her and her three daughters, which are basically mini bosses. And like, oh my gosh, just the way it turned out was pretty good, kind of like I liked it. I liked being able to explore this beautiful castle and like find stuff and like read all the notes and stuff, and it was pretty cool. I mean, it tells you, like she's been alive for like forever, and how the daughters were made, and how they're basically flies that all come together and form the daughters or whatever, but they're just they're bugs. All of them are just little bugs, and they exhibit like a vampire. They have to drink blood, to stay alive or whatever, and like really cold temperatures, which is basically like, or like, it's not sunlight, but it's really cold temperatures will make it so that you can damage them and kill them, and then they turn into like dust or whatever, which is pretty cool, if you really think about it. I mean, they're not vampires, but there is something that can make it so that it can be damaged and killed like they were vampires. So I mean, it's pretty cool how you got vampires, lycans, fish monster, and Heisenberg and his little army of robot things. It's cool. I love the supernatural aspect about this, and I love how they were able to bring that in and make it. And I mean, let's okay, so then after you get done with Lady Dimitrescu's castle and you fight her and you take her out, then you end up going to the puppet master lady. Yeah, I mean, that section is really short. Basically, you go to her house up on the top of the hill. You go down and you have to solve like these puzzles. And that's basically all this is. You don't have a gun, you don't have no weapons to fight. It's all about solving puzzles. So this is like a giant puzzle section with a climactic moment where you get chased around the place by a giant baby, which is pretty creepy and fun at the same time. Yeah, it was good. So basically this is just a puzzle section where you get more backstory about about her, and you find out that like these are all four of these characters are the adopted daughters or adopted children or whatever, and like you kind of start to like learn that Dimitrescu and Heisenberg are probably the more prominent ones, the ones that are, you know, smarter and like more cunning. But you deal with them and you start to I don't know. You don't really feel sorry. I mean, like I felt like, you know, Heisenberg was like, yeah, you know, dude, I wouldn't like toward the end he like after you kill like the him and the fish guy. The fish guy was more of like a um, kind of like solving puzzles while you're fighting him type deal. It wasn't really like going through like a maze thing, but I mean, it wasn't really terribly hard to get through all that, but it was definitely fun to like go through his section and then fight him at the end because like these boss battles they weren't like bullet spongy or hard or like too terrible. It was just the experience, and it looks so freaking good playing in the HD or playing with the ray tracing mode on. This game just looks so good that it's so easy to get into, and the immersion, like you're so immersed in this experience from start to finish that it's like, oh my gosh, it's just great. So after you after you get through, you know, the two, I mean, I wouldn't really say they're big chunks, but they're not really as memorable as Dimitrescu and Heisenberg. Those two definitely have bigger parts, but the other two, they're not there for filler. I mean, you kind of need, because it explains like why there's four of them and why they need four and stuff like that throughout the game. But but Lady Dimitrescu and Heisenberg are, you know, really big parts of the game. Like they're what kind of tie it together. Their personalities and, you know, the way they act and stuff. So Heisenberg, basically, this guy is pretty freaking cool. Like I liked him and I hated him at the same time, because it's like, dude, you're like a smug freaking jerk, you know, whatever. But you're also, I mean, like, your setting is pretty cool. Like like you fight this dude as a mech. Like he turns into a mech, and it's pretty freaking, it's pretty cool. I wasn't expecting that, like, at all. So basically, you go through his little factory. He has a factory. I mean, all Resident Evil games are like that. You start off in a mansion, you know, or out the woods or whatever, the mansion. Then you go to the middle section, you know, which is thing, and then you go to the lab or whatever. You know, basically every Resident Evil game is like that. Well, this time we're not in a lab. We are in a factory, like where he builds and experiments on on things and creates abominations. Like these abominations, these things are freaking not scary, but like they're kind of cool. I mean, they're not really scary, but they're tough. You know what I mean? They're hard to kill. So it's like, oh my gosh, it's like kind of hair raising. So you got this dude with the propeller on him, and he's like, I mean, he wasn't like hard to kill or nothing, but oh my freaking gosh, dude, this thing looks so cool. Apparently, there's gonna be like a copyright thing about it, because I guess there's another dude that made a movie back a while back, and he had the same thing. But it's okay, because the Resident Evil guy doesn't have arms, so they're not the same. Whatever. I mean, it's pretty freaking cool though. Like, you're gonna love it. It's pretty awesome. And then you get through his section or whatever. Basically, you know, just run from these things. You know, try to. You hit them with light. You hit them. You hit them with like flashes and stuff like that, and it stuns them, so you can get around them. Like, I'm pretty sure they're bullet sponges, because the one that I tried to kill, like, I damn near ran out of ammo trying to kill him, so I just gave up on that and just ran from him, because I pretty much feel like that's what you're supposed to do in Resident Evil games. Is like, you're not really there to try to kill everything, but I guess you could if you want to. I've always played Resident Evil games as like trying to conserve my ammo and stuff like that for like the bosses, which I feel like this Resident Evil gives you more than enough ammo to, if you wanted to be more combative, you probably could. But basically, how I recommend in that section with the Heisenberg's robots and stuff, pull out your knife and fend these guys off with your knife, because they have like these little electric things on the wall. You'll see them. You just slash it with your knife and it'll stun the dudes. And then on some of the doors, they have little balls that you got to break. And if you just cut them with your knife really fast, instead of trying to aim at them, then you can get through those doors pretty quick. And like this section wasn't hard. It was basically you got to run and get a thing to make a key or make a plate or make something to like put in a door to unlock the way further. So you got to keep circling back through this area like 3 times to make 3 different things so that you can get to the upper level so that you can finally face Heisenberg. And once you get there, you fight him. He's a mech. Chris comes and finally explains, you know, like, hey, that wasn't me I killed, dude. Like, it's all right, you know. We can still get Rose back, you know, and he's gonna help you and stuff. And so, basically, he's like got this little thing that you can get on, and this thing that you can get on and fight Heisenberg, because this dude's like pretty tough. You wouldn't be able to do it on your hands on your hands or whatever. But once you get through this part, once you kill Heisenberg, then Mother Miranda shows up. She basically rips your heart out, and then like you like are kind of dead or whatever. But then it moves to a part of the story where now you're Chris Redfield, and you're just going through the whole freaking town, you know, like the village, and you're just killing all these, you're killing all the Lycans, you know, just shooting them up. You know, you got plenty of ammo, whatever. It's just like you're going through the thing, just tearing things up. And then it comes back and reveals that, well, Ethan Winters really isn't dead, because Ethan Winters is mold, and he died in Resident Evil 7. He died early on, like when he first got to the house, and it explains everything. Like, I'm not doing it justice. You have to literally play this game and see how it goes to the... Because I could try to explain my experience to you all day long, but it just doesn't... It doesn't captivate the feeling that you're going to have playing this. So, I mean, I'm hoping that you're watching this video after you played the game so that you can, you know, kind of come to grips with what you had. Because I've seen a couple of the videos about people talking about it, and I'm so sick and tired of hearing them like, oh, man, I don't know how that worked, and it didn't work, and blah, blah, blah. Like, the story was coherent. It was good. It worked. It explained everything. It tied up all the loose ends. It tells you right then and there, hey, the father's story's done. He's not coming back. You will be playing the next game as Rose. This is a trilogy, all 3 games. So you will be playing as the daughter. Ethan Winters had power. That explains why his hands would get cut off and how he could like reattach them and stuff like that. It makes sense. They fixed all of that. They made every time his hands or something got cut off in number 7, and now this one, like, it makes sense in the end. Because they explain it to you. They tell you why that was even possible. So I don't understand how anybody can be confused about this game or have any problems with it. No, they're not Lycans. They're not vampires. They're not any of that. They are all mold. Mother Miranda, simultaneously, while the Spencers were creating Umbrella, they parted ways, but they were partners before. Mother Miranda's research was trying to bring her daughter back. The other dude wanted to create bioengineered weapons. They went their separate ways. Mother Miranda ended up creating the mold, which mimicked Lycans, vampires, fish monsters, the puppet lady, you know, everything that was created by Mother Miranda in the mold is, and Ethan Winters. So everything has a start and an end with Mother Miranda and her research. So basically, after you wake back up as Ethan, then you go and you confront Mother Miranda again. And when you kill her, while you're Chris, he plants a bomb in the heart of the mold. So anything tied to the mold or Mother Miranda, when she dies, it all dies. So either way, Either way, if Ethan didn't take the detonator and blow himself up with the mold, he would have died after the mold was destroyed anyways, because it needed that central. It needed that central communication or something. You know, I mean, like that's kind of the way it sounded to me. Basically, this game works. It's great. It was it was definitely worth the price of admission. The visuals are freaking beautiful, better than anything I've seen in a long time. Yeah, I highly recommend that you play this experience, and hopefully, if you're watching this, you have already experienced this, and you just want somebody, and you want to watch something, that's not going to make you doubt your experience. Like, you don't doubt your experience. If you played through this game, like, it was a good experience. That was a good experience for $60. Like, you got amazing visuals, you got a coherent story, you got a lot of loose ends tied up. I mean, if you paid $10 more, you got to play the whole 7 game too with it. So that's not a bad deal. You get 2 games for the price of 1, and these are good. They had good, well written characters. It was really, it worked. It definitely worked, and it was a video game, guys, a video game, and it was a good video game. It was worth playing. You did not have a bad experience, unless you had a bad experience and you just didn't like it. But I feel bad that other reviewers are out there, kind of already, saying kind of negative stuff, and that really bugs me, because this was a good game. It was worth the money. It was a fun experience. I loved it. It's my new favorite Resident Evil game of the series, hands down. And, I mean, this was a good experience. Well, I hope you liked this content, and I hope you made it all the way through. And if you did, I hope that you will like and subscribe this video, because I don't like to throw the like and subscribe thing at the beginning of my video, because I want to talk to you first, and so I put it at the back of the video. And if you make it this far, I really hope that you will take the time to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you. Have a good night.